I'm valuable regardless, right? I'm a baddie regardless. And if you don't want to choose me, that's a loss for you. I think something that we have to acknowledge as baddies is that we hold the power at all times. Hey baddies, welcome back to the Baddest You podcast, where every listen takes you to the baddest version of yourself. I am your baddie level up coach, Ambria, and today we're actually going to go off script, and I just want to sit with you guys and describe to you where your true value comes from so that you never again second guess yourself when it comes to other people, their behavior, treatment, validation, lack of validation, whatever it is, right? Because I want you guys to truly feel worthy, confident, and secure within yourselves, regardless of the world around you. And that is how a true baddie operates. So make sure you guys follow me on my Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Ambria. Don't forget to check out the Baddest You on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on my YouTube channel. And let's get into this week's episode. So your worth is innate, okay? Your worth comes from within. It doesn't matter what people say about you. It doesn't matter what happened in your past. It doesn't matter how people perceive you. None of the above, right? Your worth is innate. You were born a very worthy individual, right? And what happens is a lot of times as we're in life, we can attribute our value, our worth to our success, our achievements, other people's perspective of us, other people's opinions of us, how much money we have or don't have, right? But the true thing about your worth is that it cannot be touched, right? Your worth is not a temporary measure that is only affected by external outcomes, external validation, or circumstances. Your worth is this thing that cannot be touched. It's something that comes from within and ultimately is up to you, right? I always say everybody was born with a huge amount of value and worth, an equal amount of value and worth as well, but a huge amount of value and worth. And the only thing that truly separates you from your value and your worth is your awareness of your worth, which is why it is so important to understand your true value. Even how we perceive circumstances and situations is a direct reflection of how we're viewing ourselves, right? Seeing ourselves as victims, usually it comes to us seeing ourselves as a person not worthy of much, but seeing ourselves as a winner or seeing ourselves from a very high perspective is a reflection of high value, high self-worth, and seeing ourselves in a higher light. And it's so important to make sure we're having boundaries with ourselves in terms of how we're viewing ourselves in relation to certain circumstances, right? Life is unpredictable, baddies, right? And we can't really attribute our value to how things are happening around us. I always say you may not be able to control what's happening to you, but you can always create what's next, which is why it is so important to recognize the power you truly have when it comes to any circumstances and the value you have no matter what it is that life throws at you. All right, you are the most powerful person in your life. You're the most powerful person in your reality, right? And also another thing shows other people really cannot touch you unless you allow them to touch you, right? In terms of emotions, people's perspectives, opinions of you. Baddies, you really have to remember and acknowledge that other people can only affect you as much as you allow them to affect you. And that is why boundaries comes into play. You have to really look and say, well, I know who I am regardless. I understand who I'm becoming. I have a sense of value and worth. My sense of worth doesn't come from if a person ghosts me or not. My sense of value doesn't come from if somebody wants to be my friend or not. My sense of self-worth doesn't come from how much money I have. It doesn't come from if my parents are choosing me or understanding me or not, or if the family dynamic that I have with my siblings is that I'm the black sheep, whatever it is, right? Your worth is innate and it exists regardless of the world around you. And something important to consider as well, baddies, is that other people are usually seeing us from a perspective of how they view themselves, what they feel worthy of. We can't take it personal. So if a person is looking at me and let's say somewhere in their youth they were taught, you don't have value unless you have X amount of money, right? And this is something that they got in their programming and they already, right, have attached their worth to some type of external temporary circumstance. When it comes to you, they may judge you about not having money, but guess what? It's not personal. It's their programming. But what happens to us if we don't have a sense of value and worth is we're going to look at that and say, oh my God, I'm not worthy. Oh my goodness, I'm not valuable because of another person's opinion. When in reality, if that person had a more healed perspective, they would be accepting you of who you are just by your existence, because they can't accept you for who you are because they can't accept themselves for who they are, which is why it is so important as baddies that we learn not to take other people's actions personal. We learn not to internalize other people's words because it's all a reflection of them anyway. If somebody was taught only a certain demographic is attractive and that was their programming, you can't take it personal if, you're not in that demographic and they're, saying, oh, I don't find you attractive. It's like, okay, well, I'm worthy regardless. That's your programming. That's your experience. Sorry, you're on the losing side, right? Because you can't see the value in me. That's a loss for you, right? You have to understand this. When people don't see your value, they're missing out on the experience of you. It is never a loss for you, always for them, because we understand how amazing your energy is, right, baddies? We understand how dope it is for you to exist and to even exist in your life, the light you share and the love that you have to give. We understand. I understand that, and you understand it most of all, right? But people who are not used to light, right, they won't be available for it. People who are not used to unconditional love, they will not be available for it. They will have conditions for how you have to act, how you have to show up, how you have to treat them, right? And that is why it's so important to make sure we are validating ourselves. This world, so many different perspectives, so many different energies, so many different everything. It is so easy to lose track of who you are if you do not have a sense of self outside of other people's opinions or circumstances or XYZ. It is your responsibility to know who you are, regardless of another person's actions towards you, regardless of how another person treats you. I always say you have to be so you-oriented, meaning if someone's not choosing you, you're not in a victim mindset, you're not upset, you're not stressed, you're not bargaining, you're not hoping or proving your value. You're simply saying, well, I'm valuable regardless, right? I'm a baddie regardless, and if you don't want to choose me, that's a loss for you, right? I think something that we have to acknowledge as baddies is that we hold the power at all times, right? A lot of people, they think it's an excellent punishment for them to remove their love, remove their energy, because that was a punishment for them growing up, right? But we have to understand that we're not going to accept less than we deserve. We're not going to walk into circumstances and accept that as a punishment, knowing that we deserve the best, right? And that's why it's so important as us baddies for us to truly understand what we deserve. You deserve the absolute best, and anything that's not reflecting that back to you in the world around you isn't a reflection of you not being worthy of it, but you not seeing yourself as worthy of what you want, right? You settling in a relationship means you don't see yourself as fully worthy of a beautiful relationship where you're getting everything you want and deserve. You settling for friendships means you don't see yourself as worthy of amazing friendships where you're supported and loved unconditionally and seen as your worth, and not, having to deal with competition or conniving individuals, right? You have to understand that you have genuine value and worth regardless of the world around you, and that things and circumstances that you're experiencing is not a reflection of your value, but a direct reflection of how you value yourself. So if you start to really value yourself and you start saying, sorry, I'm too good for certain experiences, I'm too good to entertain certain comments, I'm too good to entertain certain thoughts, right? I always say, the only thoughts you should be considering in your mind is people who truly value you, people who truly see you, people who truly honor you, right? You shouldn't be considering people's thoughts if they're giving you conditional love and they're making you feel small and they're making you feel insecure and they're making you feel not chosen. See, what happens as humans is when we feel inadequate, like the first thing we do is try to prove that we are actually adequate. We try to get that stamp of inadequacy off of us. But if you knew who you were, right? If you were just like, oh, I'm valuable regardless, and someone says you're inadequate, you're not going to take it personal. You're going to understand they're most likely projecting, right? Like I said earlier, it's like their perspective of you is a direct reflection of their perspective of themselves. They're seeing you through their lens of themselves. They're comparing you to themselves. They're like, okay, this person's inadequate because I'm this. And a lot of times people will see you and try to make themselves feel better by trying to make you feel small. But only people who are insecure do that. So if someone's not adding to you, uplifting you, truly valuing you, and giving you what you deserve, 9 times out of 10, this person does not like themselves in the first place. And so it's like, why would you want to be liked by somebody who doesn't even like themselves? What is the qualifications to be liked by them? You know what I'm saying? Because if they don't like themselves, baby, I don't want anything to do with that, right? So it's so important, baddies, for you to truly recognize your true value, your innate worth, and to allow yourself to start stepping into self-concept that reflects your true innate values. Seriously. Some ways that you guys can strengthen your self-concept. I've been listening to affirmations in my sleep every single night for like years at this point, like 1 to 2 years now. You guys can check out Dylan James. That's DylanJames on YouTube. He actually just launched all these affirmation videos, from like money affirmations to feminine energy affirmations to top tier treatment to business success to career success, all of the above. make sure you guys go check him out on YouTube. Listen to his affirmations. I highly recommend the self-worth affirmations, the I'm the best affirmations, and the top tier treatment if you guys want top tier treatment in your relationships and to see yourself in a higher light and to shift your self-concept. It's also awesome to make sure you guys are participating in healthy habits. Like, I love to go to the gym, right? When you're investing in yourself, taking care of your well-being, your mindset, making yourself your top priority, it's kind of like you're too busy to even notice what other people are saying you're doing, and you're constantly investing in yourself. And we tend to care more about things when we're investing our time and our energy and attention into taking care of them, right? So make sure you guys are taking care of yourself, right? Like, the third thing finally is like, you have to ask yourself, well, what do I think, right? I feel like a lot of times when we come from backgrounds where we have to attach other people's perspective of us or opinion of us, maybe to feel safe or to feel like part of the pack, right? We learn this programming of getting our sense of self from other people. You have to start asking yourself, does this resonate with my internal story? If I know I'm pretty and someone says I'm ugly, does that resonate with me knowing I'm pretty? No, I don't accept that. You have to have like boundaries with yourself on what you allow yourself to focus on. So we're no longer choosing what's not choosing us. We're no longer in this position of feeling a fear and anxiety and overthinking and feeling this deep state of like frustration or negative energy. We're not doing that, right? You deserve the absolute best out of life. And you and we're making a pact to ourselves to only accept the absolute best connections, the absolute best comments, the absolute best people, right? We don't have to deal with anything that's not adding to us, that's not giving us what we deserve. And we have to make sure that we're giving that to ourselves first, right? So instead of you worrying, how do I look? How do you think you look? Right? Instead of you overthinking, well, what are they going to think? What do you think? Instead of you overthinking, well, what happens if XYZ? What are you going to allow? Right? Start recognizing baddies and remembering that you, in fact, do have power in this circumstance and situation, and start calling your power back and start creating what it is that you want instead, because you are a powerful individual, the most powerful person in your reality, and your opinion and perspective of yourself matters most. Remember that. Choose yourself, love yourself, and accept nothing less, because you are the most important person in your life, and anything that is not choosing you does not deserve a second thought, baddies. Okay? You are the prize. You are the prize. You are the prize. All right? Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Baddest You. Make sure you guys follow me on my Instagram, on my YouTube, and on my TikTok at Ambria. Check out the Baddest You on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And don't forget, you are that person regardless of the world around you. You are a baddie regardless. Remember that. And I'll see you guys on next week's episode of the Baddest You. Bye, baddies. Bye.